take your
Hey,
questions.
do you want to say a little bit about your background?
Oh, sure. So my name is Eric Hess. I'm president of Nexus. I've been a professional woodworker for the last 15 years. I've set up a couple of wood shops, both my own and for a stair building company in Sacramento. I've been a professional stair builder, doing a high-end residential and construction for the last 4 years. That's been a really nice, consistent paycheck. I've been a maker pretty much my entire life. Started out with Legos and built my own CNC router about 10 years ago because I needed a CNC router and tech shop was 300 miles away. So I moved down to San Jose last year in part because tech shop was down there and well, now we're trying to do space. So
You're the jinx.
Yeah. You know, there are some people who are newer than me. But I've set up assisted with a number of nonprofit organizations in the past. I do living history programs for school groups. So I've been involved in education for about almost 20 years now, doing those living history programs and organizing those events. So that's a little bit about my background and experience. Jim?
Yeah, I'm retired now, but I worked for Hewlett-Packard for 20 years doing engineering management. I'm a software engineer by training. But I was a member of Tech Shop for 7 years. I joined when it was over at the original shop. So I worked for Hewlett-Packard for 20 years, then I left and did my own software startup where, I thought we'd be rich and buying an island. We started in 2000, just when it boom. So I retired from that a couple years ago, and I was hanging out at Tech Shop, and man, I was just heartbroken when it went down. It was a place where I could make things, well, you guys all know, right? Could make things with my hands that I could never make online, so.
Hello, my name is Kirsten. I'm the social media and marketing manager. My apologies for being late. I forgot about daylight savings time. Did change my car.
She's on operations.
I worked the front desk at Tech Shop Mid-Peninsula for about a year, right up until they closed. I was really big on the laser cutters. I am an illustrator and a designer by trade, so losing Tech Shop meant losing pretty much all the stuff that I use to run my business. So that's why I'm so into getting a new location open, because I know a lot of people are in the same boat as me. We lost our resources. So that's where my background is on this. And if you guys have any questions or want to help with any outreach, social media, marketing, etc., please feel free to talk to me after the meeting.
All right, questions? Yes.
So I saw, so you had the chart that goes through April, and you had the membership numbers, which I think said 150 members and it had a number. Then May said 150 members and it had a number. Does that mean 150 more members? I'm curious what the chart looks like beyond the first.
150 is pretty much our sustainable level.
Really?
Yeah. We have the financial model up online,
Okay.
so you can go through and look at our assumptions. That's, again, 150 is not the whole income of the organization.
Understood.
Education plays a really big part in that. Income from education is about 40%.
40%, yeah.
30-40% of our income. That's a major portion of it. Income from retail, we're working on sourcing supplies so that we can have things that are being used in shop, MDF, plywood, acrylic, all of that. We want to have really competitive priced materials available for you in the shop so you don't have to go to Tap Plastics and pay their markup. You can put that money directly into the community at a really competitive rate. So there's a lot of different ways that income is coming in.
But let me just say, retail is a small slice of it. It's really memberships, memberships, and the gross margin from the classes we do is really a big part of it.
For reference, how many members were at Tech Shop Mid-Peninsula, for example, were there?
Well, they were supposed to have 550 members, but a lot of those were also lifetime members, which, like myself, where that money is gone. They weren't counting on that. Wasn't operational money for them. And their average and the average blended rate of memberships at Tech Shop was $97 a month. So they were more members, less. But for us, we would love to have 200 members. Well, we're trying to 150. It makes it a sustainable shop, but it doesn't give us nearly the kind of exercise room that we'd like if we had more members.
Yeah, so like as Kirsten crushes her job, when you have too many members, like what's kind of those 200, 300?
It's about 350. It depends on the size of that facility. But looking at that 10,000 square foot facility, 8 to 10,000 square feet, about 350 is about. Ben and I sat down and kind of gamed through machine utilization. And it was not an exact number, but that's about the number that we feel like that would be about the point which we max out that location.
That's what we kind of like the idea that we've got, you know, in this one location on Independence where we've got 6,000 square feet to start. That keeps our prices low as we ramp up members. And then we've got the option, if we're successful in ramping up, to acquire the space next door to get another 3,000 feet. That would be, that's just like great.
Yeah,
That's next to Fred's.
right.
That's
Yes.
assuming the 3,000 square feet is still available.
Well, if it's,
We'll find out.
yeah, there's some things about that, but it might.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're working on, that we're hoping that will be essentially held available for our use until we're ready for it.
But it's, you know, you can go out, and as Eric said, if you go through the wiki, there's a place where it's got, through the website to the wiki, there's a place where we put our financial spreadsheets up. So you can see the whole model that we're doing. And it's not perfect, but we try to do a comprehensive model, and we could, you know, we'd love more help on it. Our treasurer, who's not here now, she's a maker, so she's out selling her hand tool bags. But she's also a part-time controller. That's been her whole life, so she's a financial controller.
Now that the tech shop has filed bankruptcy, thousands of pages of member listings, I wonder if anybody's started going through that bankruptcy filing.
How many of you received our mailer?
So-
Physical email, or
Physical
US
mail. So we went through the full list of members, targeted the area that everyone that was within about 40 miles of us, south of San Francisco, and up the east side of the peninsula, pulled out all those names and took out all the duplicate addresses and sent out a mailer to them. Went out on Monday.
We sent out 2,000 direct mail pieces. Just trying to reach them, and it worked.
So you missed us. Well, you
We
probably took us off.
we took you off.
We were trying to save the 50 cents.
Yeah. No, we're trying to be responsible with our money. So if you already had signed up for Maker Nexus, you did not get a mailer from us.
We weren't perfect in that.
Yeah, not perfect.
But we tried.
But we did go through and did a mailer to all the addresses that we felt would be potentially interested in us.
Yeah, a big part of this for us is reaching people. Like, you know, the people here who got the mailer hadn't heard, as I was talking to a couple of you guys, you know, we've been doing this since the middle of January, and here were tech shop members who had never even heard that we were trying to start a new shop. And so trying to reach people is a big part of it. I kind of feel like we've got a funnel where we have to bring people in, educate them about what we're doing, and then some of those, hopefully a lot of them convert to members. But I feel like we've got to get the funnel bigger.
Well, Judith was talking to someone on Saturday at our sewing group who was actually an investor
Yeah,
in San Jose, and she didn't know about Nexus at all.
Yeah. And another person she brought along to the particular event had been a dream coach at Tech Shop and had never heard of it.
Yeah.
See, so this is a big thing. You could, I mean, you know, it's a community effort. We've got 6 people on the board of directors. We've got another 20 people, like Josh is out here, you know, visiting sites. Sarah's helping with CRM selection. There's guys, you were folding some of 2,000 pounds. Frank's helping. Yeah, it's like we've got to do it as a community because the 6 of us can't do it all. And there's so much more to do. But a big thing is finding people that might be interested. And you know, if we could get a newspaper interested in writing an article, we've been trying, but you know, they kind of say, well, if you have a location or if you have a marquee sponsor, we do an app, we do a whole pitch on you. But it's not an interesting story yet for them. That was what we've been told. But if you're on Nextdoor, man, I put something on Nextdoor that got in my area. That went to 10,000 people, and we got some members, and we got some more people on our list interested. So if you can go back and post on Nextdoor, we've got these cards which you can take. We printed these out. You can go leave them places. Kind of explains Maker Nexus. You can go to the website. You can buy yourself a T-shirt. You know, it doesn't get us any money. You go into one of those places that brands everything for you. Spread the word is a big part of it for us. Yes.
Where are the women makers? I didn't see many women here. It's
That's one of the things that we're really trying to
2, 3, 4.
trying to make a conscious effort to be a lot more inclusive. Tech Shop was not great about that, and
Yeah,
it takes some really concerted effort and intentional design work to take a community that has historically been at best ambivalent towards women and make it really inclusive and welcoming to women. So it's something that we're working on really, really hard. The Amazon Lab 126 is a program for 21 high school girls who we want to get them interested in making hardware development. But it's going to take a lot more work like that to really make it, to get to the point where the numbers are a lot more balanced than they historically have been at Tech Shop.
I noticed that the slide for Maker Faire had manning the booth.
They could say womaning the
People, yeah.
Good point. Other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was one on the, about membership, there's something about, basically what happens for, what you need to do to be able to use equipment, right? So you're gonna have the classes, but also there's something about, oh, if you join by this day, there'll be an inexpensive way
Right,
to
so we don't want to penalize you for all the classes that you took at Tech Shop and now have to retake all those classes with us. We aren't going to be able to offer a blanket check off of honoring every single SBU.
Sure.
Because the CNC operation is going to be different, the lasers are going to be different. But we're going to be doing a lot of low cost classes, like $10, basically just covering our minimum costs to go through and cover those SBUs and get you up to speed on whatever software changes there have been for things that are pretty much direct translation. So wood shop safety and use, we're going to do a large class on that where we're going to get as many of you in as quickly as we can at minimal cost to get you back to making, because we don't want to make you pay for a full class over again.
We also think that's probably going to go away after a couple of months. We want to incent people to get in early.
Yeah.
So I could see
That was the other
3 or 4 months after we started saying, well, then, you got, because we need people to get in.
Yeah,
The
right.
whole thing that comes out of this is it feels bad for me to say, but we got to get people in at the beginning because if we don't get enough people, we can't open a shop. It's really the bottom line.
So about those instructionals, the way you're describing the online classes, the tutorials, all that kind of stuff, less time in the shop, are they gonna be $60, $70 a pop?
No, so we're bringing down the cost of the classes from Tech Shop $85 to $105. It's just too high. It was a barrier to taking classes. So we don't have classes that are in the $40 to $60 range, and in our financial model, that's what we're reflecting cost of classes. For a 2-hour, to give you an example, for a 2-hour in-class class. Now that isn't 2 hours of content. You actually have about 3, maybe 4 hours of actual content that you get for that. Because there'll be online videos, material that you need to read through, and you'll need to take a test before you come into the class. So you'll need this knowledge of this is the difference between a ribbed blade and a cross-cut blade for the table saw. You need to know that difference before you come into the class so that the instructor can focus on getting you comfortable with the safety of the tool itself rather than imparting other information that, we have the internet. It makes no sense to not have stuff that you can't refer back to. But we want the time in the class to be utilizing the machines and get people hands-on with the machines so that they get the muscle memory and the good safety habits that they need to be safe and efficient in the shop.
As you were saying that, I'm thinking that we are probably going to have, for people who are really ranked beginners, we probably will still have, like, what's the difference between a rip blade and a
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
we'll have classes that walk, if you really want to pay to get through that kind of work, because we want to bring in everybody.
Yeah.
And so, but for people who know, it's like, read it, see the video, take the test, and then come in and just do the hands-on work to get checked out.
And for the people who claim to have taken the SBU classes, will there be a check-off kind of a test, somebody you go in there with?
That's it.
That's the idea.
You should be able to say, tell me about, we should have like 20 questions on the laser cutter that if you can't just answer them, well, then you should take the class. But if you can answer them, then we should say, okay, now let's watch you do something and cut this. Okay, good, then you could do something.
Yeah, and like I said, that'd be $10, $10, basically just enough there'll be someone who's walking you through that with you. It pays their wage for the time that they're walking you through that, and that's it.
But
they don't want to make
it will depend a little bit. I use a laser down way down by the San Jose airport, which is too far to go. That's why I want to shop out here. But I went down there and they had a big Chinese laser, a thunder laser. It's actually completely different than the Helix. The concepts were the same. The safety part was kind of the same. But the operation was like, well, I did need to spend an hour with somebody figuring it out. It was like,
Hack the dojo?
yeah,
Yeah, that laser's
yeah, it's huge.
4 by 5 or something.
Yeah, so
Maybe 3 by 4. It seemed like the size.
Yeah, so for things like that, where we have a different tool than
It wasn't working.
a tech shop SBU would have addressed, we are going to have classes for that you'll have to take still. But if there's something that you worked on this specific laser or this specific mill before, and you can demonstrate that, we're willing to put something in place that gets you making sooner rather than later.
When you bring up an area of lasers or woodworking or welding, will you have the long-term full solution for ventilation in place before you start it up at all?
I would like to say yes.
I think they're legally required.
So the answer to that is no. The long-term permanent solution will take time to build out. We'll have short-term temporary solutions that will get us most of the way there as best we can in the interim. So
Will it still be isolated from other areas?
as much as we can. It depends on the location. Some locations have a much more open floor plan. Others, it's going to be very, very discrete little pods for lasers are here, 3D printers are here, woodworking is here.
I think there's two different models. One is the original tech shop where you have little rooms that are you've got the laser room, and then you've got the metals room, and then the other one is the last tech shop in the city, which was completely open, except for that plastic that was around the wood shop.
Yeah, but I think your question is probably directly, I think you asked before about the wood shop. Is that correct? Back at Hacker Dojo?
But your concern is just making it.
Yeah. But so for the wood shop specifically, there'll be dust collectors on every machine, and then we'll have the passive air filtration systems that Tech Shop had that never cleaned the filters on. That were also properly sited. I went in there and pulled one out, and there is an 1/8 of an inch thick of dust on the front of it, and I'm like, well, that's not doing anything. So both of those will be in place, but long-term solution for wood shop, we want to have a multi-stage cyclone system that's piped to the entire shop, rather than having smaller systems that, while they may go down to 1 micron dust collection or sub 1 micron dust collection, they're a lot more cumbersome. They take up the floor room, they're louder, and they're just not the ideal long-term solution. So there'll be a short-term solution, and then the long-term solution as we're able to build out to that. So we are planning long-term ventilation solutions for all those areas, but we're going to make short-term concessions to get things open sooner, as long as they're still safe. So still being safe is the overriding factor. We aren't going to invent the laser in open air in the shop at any point. Whether it gets ventilated directly outside, or whether we have a small filtration unit that's certified by OSHA or wherever else there within. Those are two different solutions. One's a short-term solution, one's a long-term solution. So we'll be building towards the long-term solutions. Yeah.
What sort of lease durations are you looking at for the two leading facilities?
5 years for the Middlefield location was the longest they would offer, and the other one is a lot more flexible.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, there's, but it could be 5 years or even longer at the independent site. We are actually working with somebody who wants to help us but they want to remain secret. But we might have a really good deal. And
Yeah,
so, we would.
It might be a 20-year long lease of, if we want to leave it in Clinton, we can. Like really, really flexible, but we're guaranteed that as long as we want to be here for the next 20 years, we can be here.
It just sounds weird that there are some rich people who want to help.
Yeah,
But I just don't. Yeah. We could use another rich person. There's a limit to what anybody can do. But we have one person.
But we're really excited about what they're bringing to the table, and while we're being cautious about it, we're really optimistic that will lead to a very, very good situation for sustainability long term.
I've said too much.
Any sort of build out you do, if you end up having to move it in a few years,
Right.
It's lost.
Yeah. That was one of the things that Tech Shop really mismanaged. They their San Jose location went over budget by like 1.5 or $2 million over budget.
We could have seen that coming. No.
Right.
Yeah, and the floor still was terrible.
Yeah, so we're really looking at what our long-term solutions are going to be as well as the short-term, and really making sure that we're not going to be in a situation 4 years down the road where we're broke and have to move.
But being a nonprofit, and our idea of being transparent about this stuff, we'll be a lot clearer. We'll tell you what the lease is on the building. And that kind of stuff. As members, as part of the community, it's not like you're coming to our shop. It's like your shop. This is like our shop, and so you're part of that. And then we should have monthly member meetings or quarterly member meetings where we bring people together and say, here's the finances. Here's what's going on. By the way, we're thinking about spending money on this equipment. People think that's the right solution, or should we buy something else? Do we need another mill, or do we need another laser cutter? Let's talk about that. So it's much more, this is not us and you, it's, it's we kind of thing.
Can I give an idea about, and it's not to do with tools, since there's going to be 220 in the building, is there a possibility that we have 220 outlets on the outside so I can charge my electric car? It's not stupid.
No, it's a good idea. I wonder, can we get a discount on the electricity because we have, on the overall electricity because we have a charging station?
But, I mean, I'm willing to even, I'm even willing to contribute to the charging station if necessary.
We'll look into it, sir, actually.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Done that for an office that I was worked in. So ChargePoint has deals where you pay money, you own the thing, they manage it, and you can make it available to people who are not at the shop if you want, or restrict it. And it costs about $7,000 to put in a 2-station charger.
Maybe then.
Okay, we can talk about it. It's an idea. I mean, because that's a draw for people as well.
Yeah. I would use it.
So, talk about Mountain View, Redwood City, and you've got the two places that are pretty far in negotiating with those two. Is there also something in Redwood City? Because if you're trying to open
We
in
can't talk
less
about
than
that
2,
yet.
okay. I'm just thinking, like, is that,
I would-
how realistic is that since you're trying to
Until
open in a
we
month?
close.
Yeah.
I think
sure.
with these things, they're going to go pretty quick. I mean, we thought we could actually, if we had more members and more money, and we were willing to settle for something, we could have had a lease signed now, but we don't have enough members yet to do that, and we didn't find the perfect, I wouldn't even say the perfect,
But
we didn't find
suitable.
we saw another deal that looks like it's much better, and we're trying to work all of them.
Got it.
We even went down, I posted online, we went down and looked at 5 places in Sunnyvale 2 weeks ago, because Cushman Wakefield said, we didn't have a spot. We said, we'll go anywhere. So we go down there, we look. We didn't find the perfect space down there. We didn't find actually the great space down there. We didn't find something better than what we had. But we're looking, so if somebody comes up with a spot and says, Cushman Wakefield says there's another place, we'll go look. If you know somebody with a building.
So, there is a spot in Redwood City that we're looking at.
Okay.
But until we
Until
that deal progresses further than it is right now, I can't say.
It was more from the standpoint of like, if you've got a target now of May 1st, and there's time to move, like, if you didn't already have even something you were looking at in Redwood City, then that seemed.
Oh yeah, we're looking at Redwood City.
Okay, that's, yeah.
You mentioned last time Valco is potentially willing to give a space. Like, what happened with that?
Well, Valco became a little unresponsive. So it's just, we mentioned in our last meeting, Valco Village down on 280 and, Wolf Road, they have a lot of space. And they're looking to rent out, they put a school in there. And the last I heard, they went a little unresponsive. The people who were managing that started talking to us about other spaces.
Well, they're closing the cinema.
They're closing the cinema.
It's actually closed.
Yeah, so that means everything will come in. I imagine that's a bulldozer job.
Well, I think there's a question about whether they're going to let them bulldoze it. The city
I know
is
that,
concerned.
yeah.
The city. But, so we were looking at that, but, they were not moving. It's still on the table. It's just not, we call them and they don't get back to us.
There's a difference between their level of urgency and our level of urgency, and that's understandable. They have much bigger fish to fry than giving free space to a maker community when they're trying to develop a full plan for the entire space. So we're not going to we're not gonna hold it against them, that their responses are a
No,
little
if
bit
they
slow.
came in tomorrow and said, we've got something, we'll go look at it.
Yeah. But we're focusing on the efforts that we feel are going to be most likely to bear fruit.
And so, when we find a space, unless we, we're polling members, because we want to know the people who say they're going to join us, where do you want it to be? Because that's our membership base. And so, if something comes up, you'll know as soon as we say this is where we're going to go, we're going to probably poll the members, but we'll get the word out, because we need to know that it's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
What's the length obligation on memberships right now? Are you guys saying that?
We're saying month by month.
Month to month.
Month by month.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a option to pay for a year in advance, and I think we said like get a month free.
Yeah, I think
so. Pay for 11 months, get your 12 free.
Pay for 12, get 13 or something.
Yeah. To have our financing a little bit more stable and our budgeting a little bit more stable, so we know that we have a fixed amount of money in the bank, that we know that's going to be consistent over this amount of time.
If you look at our financials, you'll see in the graph that, over time we build, but as membership grows, as classes kick in, we get more money and we get more revenue, but there's a point where we dip and we have to make it through that negative cash flow. So you're trying to get it early, getting cash early is really valuable this year. Next year probably won't be. And you won't find us, the tech shop, like, Maker Faire special, buy one now, get 6 months free. That just led them into ruin.
I got that, didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, it's just if you're a for-profit and you can make it work, that's great. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So follow-up question on that. So I just probably, like a lot of people, have my foot on the brakes, kind of watching you guys and the School of Visual Philosophy down at San Jose is doing some protection and those things. Just kudos, you guys are striking the right tone for me in terms of professionalism and planning and community involvement and all that stuff, kind of making the bad taste. Just when I say tech shop, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So kudos. So, and then I had an actual thought there too.
So there's a question following on from that.
Take a
How much do you think?
Actually, can I? She had her hand up. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
I apologize if I've already answered this, but for the people that have signed up, where is your distribution mostly for where people are located?
Oh, well, I don't have the heat map. It's mostly South Peninsula. We have a big hot spot in Redwood City, centered around Redwood City tech shop location. And then it seems like Santa Clara, Mountain View, Palo Alto area is another hot spot. We actually have a pretty small number of San Jose people, I think in large part because most of us came from the Mid-Peninsula area. So the people that we have like within our social networking community tends to be biased north. So we haven't been able to reach out to the San Jose people the way that we'd like to, but we just don't have the resources to.
So that's the question why I'm asking. I live in San Mateo, and this Mountain View location, I'm looking at 3 hours of commuting most of the time for a 2-hour window slot.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense.
Right. So for the 2-hour windows, like you're talking about like machine reservation times, things like that. We're looking at a lot of.
And that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah.
And that's if I use the equipment in a very small window of time, small windows.
Yeah. So we're looking at ways of working around those specific issues.
Well, how might we address that? I mean, do you have an idea of how we address that?
Mountain View is just, that's really.
Well, the location, certainly,
Location is
But if, so,
pretty, that's why I'm asking you about your
but
distribution.
if we did it,
If most of your people come to Mid-Peninsula, shouldn't the site be more biased towards Palo Alto, Redwood City, as opposed to going down south of Palo Alto?
Our number one result in our poll was San Mateo.
no.
No, not San Mateo.
Santa Clara.
Middle Park. Sorry.
We've done some kind of big polls.
Because that's going to have a huge effect on your membership.
So one of the things that can help is if you sign up on the site, we don't take money until.
And I put that
Oh, you did?
down
Okay.
there. And then
Good.
I saw Mountain View, and I said,
Well, we keep-
But then there's people like us who are based in Saratoga, and anything further up the peninsula in Mountain View is
These Mountain View locations are about 200 feet south of Palo Alto.
Yeah. I mean, it is really North Mountain View.
It's where the Costco is in Mountain View. It's on San Antonio Road.
And one of the reasons why we like those is because it's right off 101. You know, I drive through Palo Alto, and Service Street driving at that time is awful.
And we look at, we have done some heat maps of all the zip codes that we get as members. We also do zip codes of the people on the distribution list just to see where we might pull more members. But the people who are signing up are kind of in this area between there are some in San Mateo, but it's kind of biased to Redwood City, Palo Alto.
Did that snail mail hit San Jose people? The snail mail you guys sent?
Pardon?
The snail mail that you guys sent, did that hit San Jose people?
Yes, it did.
We did send some, yeah.
Yeah, so the other suggestion I have is that you might rethink that 2-hour window of time if you are going to pick a location that people are going to have to spend so much time driving to back and forth.
And that's, you know, the unfortunate reality is there's going to be people who, wherever we locate, we're going to exclude people because of the commute. I was living in San Jose and coming up to Redwood City because San Jose equipment, no parking, it's 3 hours. I completely understand that commute.
Can I ask you, so do you think if we went to, so the downside is we went to longer reservations, giving people like 4-hour reservations, makes it much harder to share the machines as well. I'm just wondering, how do people in general, do you wish you had longer reservations of like 4 hours at a time, or?
Say 1 to generate 3 as opposed to 2, at least it would equate to the commute time.
Well,
Right, no, I just tried,
if you were open till midnight, you might be able to take it 9 to midnight or something instead of 9 to 11.
Right.
You could also do a time bound system where early, 5 days out, you can only book 2 hours. When it's a day out, nobody else has booked it, you can block on another hour or some kind of.
Oh, that could be interesting. I like that idea.
Extended period of.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Or vice versa.
Well, yeah, this is the kind of thing that we have to,
And then later there's less.
these are the kind of things we're gonna have to work out as a community, because it's not us, it's like, what, if longer blocks of time work for everybody, well, that doesn't matter to us, that's, we're not in tech shop.
If we can put together the money to buy, at least another laser and get another laser in, so that the availability is longer, we're, it's certainly something that we're interested in doing.
Especially early when you're at 151 members.
Right.
And kind of keep going.
Utilization. Well, contentious question, but in lieu of Dan's activities, how much do you think that's affecting your membership drive?
I think a fair amount. I think there's a lot of people who are waiting to see what happens in San Jose, if anything. And I
think our lack of locations. I mean, we can nail a location. I think things would help there. We called a lot of people on the list, and they said, we're looking for a shop lock replacement. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
We want to make sure you got a shop lock or something like it. And then they said, we want to make sure you've got, what's the location?
Yeah.
That was a big selling point. If we could say, like you would say, where's the particular location you're going to be?
Yeah.
That makes such a big difference to people.
Yeah, especially because I've heard, because Tech Shop supposedly has a spot on the Alameda, down in San Jose. So my foot's on the brakes until that happens. Because if you guys pick Redwood City, that's a deal
Well, I
breaker
think
for me versus San
my
Jose.
thought is that I think in the peninsula we've got kind of 3 markets because of traffic, because of exactly what you're saying. We've got like south, we've got San Francisco, and then we've got this part in the middle. And we're addressing the part in the middle. I haven't heard anything from the shop about addressing that part yet. And so if you open something south, we won't get the people from San Jose, but at the same time, I'm not sure that they would drive up here anyway.
No, I think you're looking in the right kind of ballpark.
And to go on that a little bit further is, once they have a shop open, in a lot of ways, it doesn't even matter. The number of people that Dan can potentially serve, the number of people that we can potentially serve, does not even come close to saturating the market of potential members if you're doing decent community outreach. Tech shops, in a lot of ways, one of the big failings is a lack of community outreach, a lack of advertisement of what they're doing. So they didn't get new members in except through word of mouth for the most part. And so you look at the population of San Jose, Sunnyvale, Mountain View, Menlo Park, Palo Alto, Redwood City. The number of, and you're talking at most 1,000 people that between Dan and us that we could serve. High-end 1,000 people out of a population of 3 million-ish. So you're talking less than 1 in 1,000 are being members, and the potential market is way higher than that. So
we have room.
yeah. I think that, I mean, if we set up a mile from Jan, then yeah, we'd have a little bit of conflict. But, 5-10 miles between the two, and you're talking at least 20 minutes of commute time between the two, and you're in two different markets.
Yeah, so.
Does he have a Mid-Peninsula plan or not?
I haven't
Not that
heard
he
of it.
shared.
Me neither, I haven't heard of
Well,
it.
we don't know his plans, but it doesn't
Yeah.
sound, I haven't heard about it.
There's been no chatter about it. San Francisco and San Jose.
Well, you would know, you might know,
Right.
yeah.
Yes. San Jose.
San Jose.
I've heard
Very
of it.
close
Well,
Anything, yeah.
In terms of
location, in terms of location, wouldn't the lease or the rent cost factor into location?
Oh, yeah.
View versus Redwood City versus San Jose, because
Well, when we started, we also asked, when we first started this back in January, we asked about Newark, because Newark is $1.25 a square foot. And the city of Newark said they'd do almost anything to get us out there. But we surveyed members and people said we won't join if it's in Newark. So there is some, it all really all comes down to what's affordable for us. For us as the community.
So I'm just thinking Mountain View is going to be really expensive with all the high-tech companies.
it wasn't.
No, it's not actually.
It was not as bad as we were expecting. The price, Redwood City is a little bit less expensive, but not significantly.
The place we looked at, for instance, in the 1130 was advertised, so this is their asking price, was $1.86 a square foot, all in. And so that's, there's kind of net, and all, this was all in, $1.86, and it's at asking price. So, so we could get it for less than that. And so there's, whereas other stuff is going for $3 a square foot, or that house that somebody bought in Sunnyvale for $3 million.
Don't buy that place.
We're not doing it.
And a lot of places are being locked down anyway.
The volunteer corps, I would say, we have a couple of places. We have a Slack server up, so we sit, Slack is just online chat. And so for something like the mailing, that came up in a day. And somebody went out and said, I will write up Eric said, I'll write up a thing. Somebody said, I'll go spend my own money, because we don't have somebody said, I'll go spend my own money to buy the stamps. And somebody else said, Regina said, or Heidi said, I'll go make copies. And then they put on Slack, I'm folding them right now. Who can come out there? And Daya said, Sarah said, we'll come. And so that was kind of
Sunday afternoon, I'm like, okay, I can go.
well, but I'll say, so that was a short-term benefit. On something like site selection, there we have a Slack channel about site selection where we talk about things, but we also have Basecamp we're using, which is a quieter kind of space made for project management. And so if you join, you could also be in Basecamp where people talk about, here's the property, where are we doing? Those things are a little more calm than the chatter of Slack. And then we have the wiki for longer term.
Slack tends to have the memory of a goldfish. It works great for very short-term communication, but if you miss it for 6 hours, your conversations typically moved on. So we're using Basecamp for pretty much all of our more persistent conversations and discussions and project management. Anything that we want to last long-term, we're trying to move over to Basecamp. This is one of the things that we talked about last Sunday, is how to organize this a little bit better. So we put together a couple of initial documents, kind of governing when you join. These are the guidelines and where things are happening and how to structure things. How to structure conversations.
Kind of how to onboard yourself.
Right.
How to jump in.
Yeah, so I remember you actually bringing this up in a previous meeting about how we needed a more organized way in order to communicate and onboard people when they got involved. So we did write up an initial document breaking it down to Slack, Basecamp, or email. We're finalizing the details on that, and then we're going to publicly post that. So when you want to become onboarded, be a part of a Slack channel, be a part of a Basecamp group, you'll know the exact links to go to, where to sign up, and how to be involved, so you don't have to look all over the place. It'll tell you where all of the information is, because we want to streamline that as best as possible so you guys can feel like you're not struggling to help us, because we know you guys want to help us. We know that's why you're here. I will be posting it as soon as I finish editing it. I can do it today.
It'll be on the wiki, it'll be in Slack. We're gonna put that document kind of everywhere so that anybody who gets to us knows, here's how you get the rest of it. So what other?
I can put it on the mailing list too, on the newsletter that goes out on Mondays.
Okay,
I can put a link to it in the newsletter tomorrow.
Yeah, in the newsletter.
Yeah.
I didn't see any student discount, why it's not there, and
Yeah, we're still hashing out the details of what, if there be a student discount and the family membership structure, we're still working on the specific details of that. We want to keep the presentation a little bit shorter, but it is something that we're working on getting a student discount worked in.
It'll be easier to have a student discount when we have 200 members.
Yeah, right.
It's just, it's, I mean,
250 members.
and it's frankly, if we get to 350 members, membership might even be cheaper out there.
Yeah.
Who's to say? You know, I mean, so, because it's all about, unfortunately, we get some big funder. What would be great is to have somebody a corporation says, well, we'd like to fund some student memberships or scholarships. That would be fabulous.
Network and they have time.
Who does?
Students really have a big network and they have time.
Yeah, and that's why we're working to get something incorporated in for students. We just don't have a finalized plan for that yet. It is something that we want to include. We just have to also make sure that we're not impacting the overall financial viability by, if we planned on X number of members at X amount, and then we drop, 50 of those members down by a certain percentage, we don't want to put our long-term stability in jeopardy because of that.
And we do try and get to all these things, but it's like, these guys have full-time jobs. I'm retired, but it's like a full-time job doing this. It's like we're spending a lot of time trying to pull it all together. So, we have to do the thing that's the most, we had to get the mailing out, which is so glad you guys came. Because look, we got some new people in that hadn't even heard of us, so that was great.
Awesome.
So I was saying, if you want any of these, contact, look at our website, contact us online, become part of the community. We'd love to have you help. We'd love to have you join us. It's something, if you have a group of people that you're connected with, sending one of our emails out on those distribution lists can generate a lot of traffic and get more people in. So that's always useful too. If you're part of the live Steam community, well, why not send it out on the live Steam distribution list? Try and find people.
Facebook group too. I just started a little Facebook group for the 8 fellow makers that I'm closest with.
Oh,
Yeah, so I
excellent.
get a cool maker crew and just,
Oh,
hey
yeah.
guys, this is what's going on.
Oh, good.
I worked actually a couple times at the tech shop. Actually, I was thinking of working there because I thought it was so cool to be, like with all the community and see all the creativity. But so I was the one who got you guys to come out here and negotiate with the director. She thought it was a really good idea.
As long as we buy at least 2 of the photos.
Put this in our
They
lobby.
hate me to say this. No, and then also she said that she wishes you good luck, basically. But also we'd like for you to consider maybe doing other events here if you want to. Or, having exhibits here every weekend for professional artists or fiber artists or sculptors, whatever you have.
Official Menlo Park Gallery.
You'll notice this table is done by sound artists.
So keep that in mind too and tell your community that we're reaching out to you too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.